All right. Well, welcome to this episode of Crazy Until Genius. I'm your host, Hunter Jenkins. I'm sitting here with Jordan Smith, the founder and CEO of Jet Dental. Jordan, Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want to read a little bit of a bio about you for people who don't know, and then kind of set up about what we're trying to accomplish in this episode. So,
Sure.
Jordan Smith is handsome, as you can tell. Jordan Smith is the co-founder and CEO of Jet Dental. Jordan has spent his career in sales and business development with a demonstrated history in the healthcare industry and growing call centers. Before starting Jet Dental, Jordan led a 400-person sales team with annual sales of $200 million. Wow. In his free time, he enjoys golfing, skiing, good food, and spending time with his family. 3 kids and a dog.
3 kids and a dog.
What kind of dog?
An Australian Labradoodle.
Very fun.
She's like 3 months old, so we're new.
That's awesome.
We're learning. Yeah.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk to founders and CEOs of businesses. The whole point of the podcast is to capture the story of people who have done crazy things in a business setting. And starting a business is crazy. I believe wholeheartedly that every human being writes their own story. And I mean, I don't know about you, but when I listen to podcasts and watch interviews, I do feel like there's a lot of great Instagram clip zingers, but people don't dwell on the hardship enough or the failures or the struggles. And so we'd really love to get into your kind of story here today. And maybe the first question I'll ask, and then we'll just dive in, is if everyone has a story, if you have a story, what is the name of your book?
That's a good question. What's the name of my book?
Is it Clean Teeth? Because it can be that.
Clean Teeth. And I'm not a dentist, by the way, so when we get that out of the way, I'm a business guy, so I don't have a clinical background. But what's the name of my story? Well, probably it probably have something to do with getting a company to survive through COVID. So I can't think of a catchy title, but
Surviving COVID.
Going from 6 million to 0 to 12 million, maybe something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Something like that. So
Okay. Surviving COVID.
yeah,
The Jordan
Surviving
Smith
COVID.
story.
Yeah,
That's what we're
yeah,
going to call
yeah. Maybe something like that. Yeah.
it. Okay, so when did it start?
We started in 2017.
Okay.
And started the company with my dad, and we partnered with a dentist. And no sexy story in terms of the start. We were looking for companies to buy and potentially scale and then sell. And we flew a bunch of different places and interviewed founders and interviewed people who owned companies. We didn't really find anything we liked. And along the way, we met a dentist, and his wife was a hygienist, and they had a side gig where they had portable equipment, and they would go into like a nursing home or a senior living facility. And they were trying to sell their business for like $9 million. We said, oh, well, how many accounts do you have? And what's like the size of the business? They're like, oh, well, we just kind of like, when we want some work on the weekend, we'll call somebody. And it's like, okay, well, that's not a business. I'm not going to buy your equipment for $9 million.
Wow.
But that kind of planted the seed and got the idea of like, well, what if you did mobile dentistry? And my wife worked at a dental practice in college, and she would make my appointments for me. And I was still a bad patient. Like I would still cancel on her a lot.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have a meeting or I have this thing I'm working on, and it's like, I don't want to, like, it's like 20 minutes across town. I don't really want to do that. So we thought, well, that's kind of interesting. What if we did mobile dentistry, but for businesses? And we came in and employees could get their work done, and we'll bill the insurance so it's free to the business. And anyway, that's where it started. And we bought some equipment. We talked to this dentist, as I mentioned, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's a cool idea. And he kind of taught us the economics of dental and how that could potentially work. And I've learned a lot since. But anyway, we bought some equipment. We tested it with a few companies. In the early days, I was like, the sales guy, and then the client service manager, and then the front desk person at the dental event, and then the recruiter, and, learned a lot in that process. But we tested it with a few companies, and really quickly, the thing we found that was cool was the average Jet Dental patient had not been to the dentist in over 2 years. So it wasn't just convenience for convenience sake. That's there, but it was, we're getting people who have insurance, who have a job, but they still don't go to the dentist, even though they have all the access in the world.
That's me.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
In fact, it's 40 to 50% of people in the U.S. that have insurance aren't going to the dentist at least once a year. And some people live in dental deserts, and that's their issue. Like, there's not a lot of dentists nearby. There's probably a dentist in this parking lot here in Utah where we're recording right now, but there's still people who don't go. And so we got really excited about, hey, it's not just convenience, but by making it convenient, we get people to do something they probably know they should do, and we get them access. So by making it convenient, we get people to actually do what they know they should do, and that's preventive care. And there's other cool things that we could talk about with that preventive care. But anyway, that's kind of where it started.
I mean, it's a genius idea, right? Because everybody needs to go to the dentist. And a lot of people, like you said, have the insurance access, but they just don't have the time because it does feel like a pain in the butt to go and do. So showing up, unloading the equipment, spending the day is an awesome idea. So 2017, you said, is when?
2017, yep.
So, I mean, walk me through your first set of customers and getting those customers. How did you have to convince them with kind of no reputation? You're saying you're wearing multiple hats. Like,
Yeah.
You're probably working... how many hours a week to get this thing off the ground?
A lot. Yeah. First couple years were really stressful. Definitely, I had the Sunday scaries people talk about. Or like Sunday night, you're like, oh, frick, dude. There's so much stuff I got to do tomorrow, and just feeling like this dread. And by the way, that is something I would say to aspirational entrepreneurs is it is going to be really hard. Like you need to be like mentally prepared for that. And you need to have people on your side who are willing to allow you to make sacrifices. So my wife has been a huge blessing to me because there were a lot of Saturdays I was working, and there was a lot of late nights and early mornings, and we were having kids and, like building a family at the same time. And it's hard on, your significant other too. And so
how did you, sorry to interrupt, how did you sell her on that path? How did you set those expectations? Because they're like the wives who support.
I probably could have done a better job, to be honest with you. So okay. I'm not here to give good advice there. I think I kind of just went and was like, hey, I'm doing this. So honestly, I could have done a better job. Having said that, I think I had always told her that I wanted to try my own thing at some point.
Yeah.
And I started it with my dad, and my dad was definitely the funding part of it. And so it felt like about as low risk of a way for me to start a business as I could, right? Like I put in my own money, and I've put in a significant amount of my own money since, but it wasn't like I was on my own, I guess, if that makes sense, right? Like I have someone who I felt like could help support it financially and help us bootstrap it at least for a while until we figured out if we had a business or not. And so I felt like I would always regret if I didn't try it. Like if I didn't take the leap, and I took a pay cut right away and wasn't making as much for the first while. And so there's still risk, but less now than back then. But I just knew that one day looking back, if I didn't do it, I would regret not trying it.
I mean, that's interesting. On the podcast, I always imagine there's this 20-year-old in the room that we're talking to, because that's what we want to reach is these young people who I feel like they look online and they feel like the future is dismal with AI is changing so many things. They're worried about their jobs are going to be automated. Yeah. And I want to reach them. And like this introspective feeling you had of, I knew I would regret it if I never tried it. When did you feel that? Like how early of an age?
I don't know. My dad's a serial entrepreneur and been successful and had some different good successes in business. And I don't know. I always just felt like I wanted to do that. It just seemed like something that I wanted to try. And when I got into business, when I got into building my career in sales and business development, I learned I was pretty good at it, and I could learn quickly, and I was good at having good, honest conversations with people. You'd asked earlier, how do you convince people to jump on board? One advice I would give to founders is you just got to go out and sell, and you got to try it, and you are going to fail. Like that's probably just a reality. Like you're going to get in a room and not quite have all the answers, and you're going to learn really fast doing that, and you have to get comfortable with being pretty uncomfortable. if you're not good at sales, that's okay. You can be a founder and get somebody you trust to be good at, but you got to get somebody you trust to be good at sales right away. If you yourself are not the salesperson, you need to figure that out pretty fast.
I think that is really good advice and an action item for our listeners of you have to expect to be uncomfortable and you have to figure out sales quickly.
Yep.
Sales is the lifeblood, obviously, of businesses. And I think entrepreneurs, probably most of them lean towards my idea is incredible. And if I focus on just the idea, that's all that matters. Well, I think that there's like a really healthy balance and merit to that. But finding that sales mechanism is super powerful. And at the end of the day, I mean, everyone's a salesperson. You sell yourself, you sell your idea, you sell your company. So your first couple customers, were they doubtful of the idea? Were they open to the idea?
Man, I'm so grateful to some of our first couple customers, like they I think were patient with us. I think they helped us learn a lot. They stuck with us when we were kind of new and figuring it out. And, one thing I think that's important in those early conversations is just being honest about where you're at. Like, don't lie. They'll figure it out. I mean, don't say like, oh yeah, no, we've been doing, hey, this is new. Here's what we've got. Here's what we've done before. Here's the customers I have served already. Like, it's okay to just
be honest.
Don't have all the answers. Be honest. Hey, here's the good news. We're doing this and it's no cost to your business. It's a great service. The people who've done it already, here's the reviews we've gotten. So we didn't lie to them. Like, we didn't pretend we were bigger than we were.
Good.
And I'm really grateful to some of those people who believed in us and gave us a try and allowed us to kind of dip our toes in the water with them. And a lot of those customers are still with us today. And, I'm really, really grateful for them.
Can we shout them out?
Yeah. I want to shout out maybe Brandon Fish.
Brandon Fish. Thank you, Brandon Fish.
Thanks, Brandon. Brandon isn't with this company anymore, but he was at Entrada. He was their VP of HR. And he believed in us and got us in there, and they were one of our first marquee customers that we would go to quarterly. Workfront got acquired by Adobe, so we don't serve them anymore. But Workfront early on, they had us quarterly, and there was just some big, Utah tech companies who kind of believed in us early on and allowed us to get to where we are today. And now we're nationwide. We're in 44 states. So it's cool. Man. We're serving some big companies like T-Mobile and the NFL and ADP, and we've come a long way. But in those early days, I'm so grateful to people who were willing to kind of take a risk on us.
First off, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
2017 to now, you've done it. Like you've started a business and it's succeeded, which is an anomaly. And so congratulations. I want to touch on this point about honesty in sales, which I think is a really powerful one, a good action item. I think the kind of classic wisdom of fake it till you make it can kind of get you into hot water. But being honest about, hey, you're our first set of customers. We're going to give you half off. We're going to give you free for 6 months.
Right.
This is why we think it's good. Here's the reviews we're getting. Like, I think that's a really powerful trust building mechanism that you can use with customers.
Yeah. We had to rely on experience we had at other companies, honestly, earlier. Like, hey, here's what our background. Here's our dentist background. Here's who we are. This is new. It's going to be free to you. We're going to bill your dental insurance. We're a network. I think it's important. I think that fake it till you make it, I think that's like an easy thing to say, and that catchphrase gets misinterpreted a lot. To your point, like I think it gets misinterpreted to pretend you're this thing that you're not until you become that thing that you're not. And I don't know that that's really where that's saying. I don't know where it started, but that's not how I take that. Like I take it as, you're going to be uncomfortable, and eventually you'll feel comfortable doing that thing that used to be hard for you. That's kind of how I interpret that saying. Like, you got to lean into being uncomfortable and learning and growing, but don't pretend you're something you're not. Like, I don't think you should lie about the size of your company or what you can do and then just hope you figure it out. Like, I don't really think that's good strategy, personally. I think people can always tell when you're being genuine.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to have just an open, honest, genuine conversation with somebody and see if there's an interest level there, I think that conversation goes better.
I totally agree. There was one of the guests on the podcast, Aaron Lee, who I love. Shout out to Aaron Lee. I know we got some friends of Aaron over here. He said every transaction is an exchange of energy, and you can feel it when people are being genuine. And so I do think there's something to like a staunch belief in yourself.
Yes, I agree with that.
The confidence to walk in a room and say, even though I have no customers and I have an idea, I'm the guy who's going to go get it done.
Yep.
But there is a fine line between lying and telling confidence, like,
Yeah,
blur.
like I think you don't have to have the answer right that second either. Like
Yeah.
that's something important I learned. Hey, I'm not sure. Let me get back to you on that.
Yes.
Right? Like I already mentioned, I'm not a dentist. I'm not a clinical guy.
Yes.
And so if I got a question early on where I don't know the clinical answer that they're asking,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know, but my dentist will know for sure. Let me just get back to you.
And I am communicative and driven to go figure it out
Right.
on your behalf. Like that right there, definitely, it buys a lot of patience. Because at the end of the day, human beings are going to make mistakes, but not having too much false confidence, I think, is a good rule.
Yeah.
Okay, so your first couple of customers came in, they gave you a shot, you executed well, you got some momentum. COVID happens.
Yeah.
Let's walk through that. And what I want to really dissect is like, were there any moments during COVID, and when you said you were at 6 million to 0,
Yeah.
like that swing in momentum where you thought, or other people around you thought, Jordan, stop, go do something else?
Yeah. Good question. So yeah, we started in 2017. In 2018, originally our idea was, hey, we're going to buy practices, actual physical brick and mortar dental practices, and we're going to use the mobile to feed referrals back in. Because again, one of our early learnings was a bunch of these people we're seeing haven't been to the dentist in a really long time. And so early on we were doing that. But another thing we found was as we got some of these bigger enterprise clients, they really wanted to have the same consistent experience across the country. And we felt those two were at odds a little bit. Like we felt like we couldn't realistically keep buying practices and all the capital that would require and grow the mobile. And I think, to be honest with you, my dad and I, where we're not from dental, we weren't all that passionate about just having another dental practice, but we were really excited about what the mobile was doing and the kinds of patients that we were serving and the kinds of reviews we were getting from people who were saying things like, I haven't been to the dentist in 10 years, or I moved here from India and I've never been to the dentist, or I haven't been since my mom stopped making my appointment when I was, in college or whatever. And hearing those stories, that was really motivating for us. Like, man, there's something there, and we really want to tap into that more. So we sold those practices to that dentist we've been working with, and he kept going that direction, which was great. And we decided to really lean into the mobile and go nationwide. And so in 2019, we ramped that up. We got up to like 10 vans, I want to say, in various spots across the country, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and California, and we're growing that. And the start of 2020, we're selling like gangbusters. We're on a $6 million run rate.
Wow.
As of right that second. And so it's feeling like, dude, we've got something here. Like we've done it, like this is working. And Rudy Gobert gets 6 and touches the mics. And dude, it was like that next day, it felt like the whole world's shut down, and literally government said, you can't do preventive dental care. So like we were shut down literally, like you can't, let alone obviously everybody was working from home anyway. And we're coming into businesses to serve you. So even if the government would have let us work, we would have had no one who wanted us. So we went from feeling really good about where we were at to literally zero revenue, and for like 3, 4, 5 months, no revenue at all.
Did you have to lay people off?
Yeah, we did. We furloughed a lot of people, laid off a lot of people, furloughed some, and a lot of them came back, which was cool.
Great,
So that was cool. But yeah, we had like a 10-person sales team. We had to let all of them go. We kept just a few key folks. Derek Crystal, who's now our VP of operations, he was there in the early days. He was like the first sales guy I hired. And he and I would like do things like, we're going to merge all this data into Salesforce so that when we come back, we're ready. We went and looked and pivoted of different pivot ideas. Could we do COVID testing? Could we do this thing, that thing? And we had just raised money. Our first outside money we got in January of 2020 for growth. We ended up using it to survive.
Oh, man.
And I'm really grateful for those investors who later reinvested.
Wow.
And they gave us some really good, wise advice. They said, one of the things we love about Jet is you're in a position where you can build a moat around what you're doing, where you can be kind of like Monopoly. Like you've kind of cornered that niche of the market. And at the time, we didn't know how long COVID would last. We thought maybe it's a few months. And they gave us the counsel, I think on the other side of this, you could be stronger. It turns out that was true. It took a lot longer to recover than we thought, still there's people coming back to work, right? So it definitely was a long bit there of surviving. But yeah, absolutely, there were a bunch of times where it was like, I maybe just need to go get a job, or I need to do something else. I did pick up golf and played a lot more during 2020 because it's like you do work and it's like, oh, I don't have anything else to do now. But yeah, it was weird. It was scary and frustrating, but I never felt terrible about it, if that makes sense. Like I didn't feel like it was anything I could have done. I couldn't have contingency planned a worldwide pandemic. It didn't feel like it was my fault, if that makes sense. And so it didn't feel like it felt very out of my control.
Yeah.
Like now, decisions we make and when we screw up, I'm way more frustrated.
Oh, interesting.
Even though this last year we did about 12 million in revenue. So like if I look backward, we're way better off now, but I probably feel more angst now than I did during 2020 in a weird way. And I feel like it's just because a lot of the things are in my control, right? It's like an operational, like we didn't execute the way we wanted to, or we spent more money here, we didn't produce as much here. Like I feel more frustration with that. I don't know why I'm telling you that, but it's an interesting anecdote that like I didn't actually feel all that bad about where we were at. It was like, hey, maybe this will work out on the other end, maybe it won't. And the good news for us was 6 of our competitors went out of business. There weren't a ton of competitors, there still aren't, but we had these regional competitors, and a bunch of them, they were doing work in a trailer or like an RV, and they had a lot of capital tied up into that thing.
Just like
that asset.
Walter White dental type?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, there were these like $1 million, really beautiful like RV trailers that these people had set up, and all those folks went out of business. There's really only like one other competitor on the other end of it, and they do very permanent practices at like a big business. So it's like a really, really big company with 5,000 plus employees. So we really don't run into them that much. So on the other end of it now, we've become, I think, the preferred mobile dental provider for all the dental insurance carriers. We get about a third of our sales come from referrals from them. We became kind of the obvious choice, I think, for a bunch of corporate America. And so it didn't feel like it at the time, but that strategy of sort of burning the ships with the practices and going nationwide and being able to serve virtually anywhere in the country, in the long run, it did work. And I'm very grateful to our investors, to my dad, that they believed in that vision and they kept us alive. Yeah, and they reinvested and refunded to where we could get to where we are today. But yeah, it was really, really hard and scary. And but I don't know. I didn't ever feel freaked out, I guess. It just felt like, I guess the worst case scenario is it didn't work and I go get a job. I don't know. Like I that sounds weird to say, but like I talked to, I won't name him, but I talked to someone who he lived in a trailer and was very successful and then had business taken away. And his son actually told me, my dad always said, like, I grew up in a trailer and I was happy. Yeah. And so I don't ever really overly fear the downside risk. And that is one thing I've learned is I think I'm actually a pretty risk-averse person. I've learned that doing this. And I'm grateful to, again, investors, my dad, and people who are maybe a little bit more prone to risk. Yeah. That you can't overly fear the downside. And I think as a kid I did that. You play in a basketball game and you're worried to screw up or whatever. It's like, who cares? Yeah. I don't want my kids to be afraid of failure. And I think it's kind of helpful, honestly, to run the worst case scenario game. So if you're a 20-year-old sitting here right now, you start a company, it goes belly up. I mean, I guess the worst case scenario for committing fraud is you go to jail. Don't commit fraud. Don't do that. But if you're trying your hardest and it doesn't work out, okay, now you go get a job. I mean, is that the worst thing in the world? Probably not, right? Like lots of people have jobs and are very successful, and that's great.
Yeah, because if you hadn't started the business in the beginning, or to start with at all, you're at the same spot, but now you have more experience, even if it fails.
And I've had lots of friends too where they're working someplace for 10 years and they just get let go one day.
Yes.
And they didn't even see it coming.
Yes.
And for me, I don't know, I'm the kind of person where, again, going back to, I feel better about what I can control and I don't like to worry about things I can't control, which is kind of how COVID felt. For me, with being an entrepreneur, I can see where we're going. I can see the runway. I can see where we're heading.
You have the reins.
And I feel like at least I'm in control a little bit. And so if something happens, I feel like, well, at least I didn't just like get surprised out of nowhere by something I couldn't control. So I don't know. To me, that I feel better.
There's some wisdom in there that I want to dissect, because I think this perspective is really healthy, and I think it's vital if you're going to be an entrepreneur. So anyone who has real ambitions, like I think there's important action items. The idea of correlating your fear or frustration to what you can control is a really healthy perspective. I think people right now, I mean, I said this a little earlier, but I think people right now see what's happening with AI and they're just really afraid of it in terms of, is my job going to be automated? Is it going to be there? What's the world going to look like in 5 years?
I was talking to Claude right before I came here.
Oh yeah. I mean, Claude, the amount of things that Claude can do in a white collar job, it's astounding. And so I think naturally people are going to go and be afraid of that because they can't control it. But it's fascinating to hear you say, at the bottom of COVID, making $0 after your company had burned the boats, which we'll talk about that in a second because that's another really important concept. $0. You weren't as frustrated or afraid at that point because you couldn't control it. But now when you're succeeding, you get frustrated, and you're probably not afraid, but you get frustrated or emotional in a good way when something happens that you could control.
Yeah.
Like that right there is a really, really valuable lesson, right? This is like... I was talking to one of our investors at NZ, and we talked a lot about risk. And he asked me kind of my thoughts about the business. And I'm also super risk averse. I constantly think about how to make things better. I constantly run the scenarios of like, well, what could happen?
Right.
What would be the worst thing? And this investor is like a very serious guy, like in terms of the things he's done in business. And he said something that just shook me, which was, so he's successful, he's wealthy. He says all of the people who were more successful and more wealthy than him always took more risks because they knew if it failed, they would go figure it out.
Yeah.
They'd go get a job. They would go pay the bills. They'd get scrappy. But it's the people who are like, well, if this fails and that, then I can't do this.
Yeah.
They limit themselves.
100%.
So not having fear. And what is the worst case scenario? You go get a job.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think that's awesome. I love hearing that. Makes me feel better about taking a risk. But no, I agree with that. I think that fear limits us so much, and I think that's coming back to where that fake it till you make it comes from. Having that self-belief that you'll figure it out. Like you'll figure it out. I'm a capable person. I can go get a job if I have to. I can go do other things, but I'm not going to let that prevent me from taking the big swing, from giving it a shot. And I think as a kid, I was too fearful of failure, and I let it impact my performance in basic things like basketball, like other things, because I was just too afraid to screw up or get embarrassed. And embarrassment's fleeting, man. It goes away pretty fast, I
think the people who are most successful are like calloused to being embarrassed.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like I played basketball too. I had this crazy coach, just like older guy who just screamed at everyone when they like made any tiny mistake. And like when you're 16, like it really messes with you. But I talk to my high school buddies now and I'm like, so I'm 30. I can't imagine being 50 screaming at a 16-year-old.
Yes.
Like just that's weird in of itself, but it felt so real in that moment. But when I graduated high school, and I started playing basketball for fun, like I played so much better.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't have fear, have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you feel like your process at Jet Dental has been fun?
You know, I think those first couple years, it was really hard. And I don't know that I was having a ton of fun. If I look back now, yeah, I would say so. I would say, first of all, one piece of advice I have is identify the skills you want to build around you and find people that you like. And to be honest with you, this is probably not great HR advice.
Oh, let's go.
But
let's go.
I think you should like the people you work with in a small business. It's really, really important.
Oh, 100%.
And yeah, you do need to build skills around you, but you also got to like that person. And for me, when I mentioned Derek Crystal already, when I hired him, when I hired a few people around me and I actually had a team, I had some support to lean on, I started having a ton of fun. It was a lot more fun when I had people around me that I trusted in, that I believed in. It's a cliche that you learn time and time again in business, but having good people to support your vision is everything. It's literally everything. And I know it's a cliche, but man, it's so true. We went through a period where we had some office managers. That's one of our most important roles at Jet Dental. They're kind of like the general manager of the area. They drive the van out there. They help coordinate with all the clinical staff who's showing up. They help set up the event. They kind of run the show. We had a period of time where we started getting some poor reviews from customers. And we did the really hard thing of upgrading all those office managers. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. We started paying more. We kind of moved on from ones that were not performing. And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard when you've got people expecting you and you got to fly someone in to run an event or whatever. But we went through that hard thing. And on the other end of it now, we have a really high caliber of office manager. Our net promoter scores are through the roof. They're 75, which for context, the Ritz-Carlton has a 64 net promoter score. So if you put that in context, we have really good world-class net promoter scores.
Do you guys give like slippers out too and little mints?
We don't do that. No.
And you still beat them. That's a good awesome. Yeah.
Write that down.
Free idea. Yeah.
Yeah. But those people make all the difference, right? Having those great people that you can rely on, that you can trust, not just their character trust, but their competence trust. Both are important. They're good, honest, hardworking people, but they also are competent. I mentioned already I'm not a dentist, so you might think I'm a great guy, but you wouldn't come to me for your dental work, right? So you have to find both, and that's really, really important. So as you're hiring people, find people that you can trust, both their character and their competence, and build those people around you. I think early on, I worried too much about saving money.
Yeah. And
I got a caliber of person that maybe wasn't as great.
Sure.
In the early days, because I was so worried about we don't have any resources. And that's, of course, resources are important. You can't just like spend through the nose on things. But when we get those high caliber people, even if we have to spend a little bit more for them, it's worth every single penny. There's no question about it. So that's definitely something that I've learned. And I wish earlier on, I would have tried to identify some of those people faster. We would have got there faster if I'd identified the right people and got them onto my bus faster.
And I think what's so powerful about that is the job of the leader or the entrepreneur is to enable people to perform at their highest and find those people. And so if you're trying to start something, your founding group has got to be competent, trustworthy, and really, like I always say, ready to bleed.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's going to have ownership in a company that's worth anything will bleed.
Yep.
And that's the only way to think of it. Like, it's going to be a grind. And when you're in the trenches with somebody, you got to feel like you can trust them. I also feel like now, and I feel like our experience is similar at NZ, I found that finding these high talent people and then giving them a lot of autonomy.
Yes.
And I try to use my day now of, all right, you are running this account, or you're running this department, or you're running this team. What do you see that's wrong? What do you need? How can I support you? It's that kind of like, as opposed to, you need to do what I say to a T. It's, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to pay you well. I'm going to treat you well. We're going to have fun. We're going to go accomplish the world together. But I'm following you. You're leading me. Do you feel like that's been a strategy you guys have used at Jet Dental?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think as a leader, it's really important you establish clear expectations and manage toward results.
Yes.
This is the result.
That's a great quote.
I want I want to achieve. We want to achieve. We
Yeah.
align on the results that this is where we want to get to. But yeah, I hired you to lead this and figure this out, especially if you're higher level leaders.
Yeah.
You expect that of them. Early on at Jet, I found myself, one of the hardest things I had when I transitioned from being a VP of sales to a founder and CEO was I found myself not quite sure where to spend my time. And I ended up doing things like, I would go get the mail when I had someone perfectly capable to get the mail and look through and I would do things that weren't important for the business because I just needed like a task to do. That makes sense. And early on, people would come to me and ask me questions. And because I had been that first CSM and that first AE and sales guy, and I would just answer the question. And I had to learn to go back to what I used to be better at doing when I was a VP of sales and say, well, what do you think we should do? Like, you have more experience there than I do. What do you think the answer is? And so I totally love what you're saying. You need to give them autonomy. You need to let them figure it out. You're there to help coach and to guide, maybe course correct from time to time. But absolutely what I try to do is say, hey, here's the expectation I expect. Here's the results that we're trying to achieve. And I want you to find the best way to get us there. Like, I'm going to tell you the outcome I'd like to see, but the how and the what there, that's up to you. The why is up to me, but the how and the what is kind of up to you.
And then I think your role as well is with the how and the what, if they're not succeeding, the discernment of they're not set up for success or they're not cut out for it.
Correct.
Do you have any frameworks or advice around
I think
that?
I do like to go back to that whole character versus competence trust.
Yeah.
Character trust is a non-starter,
Yeah.
right? So there's been times I've fired individuals because of a character issue,
Yeah.
dishonesty, and it's just a non-starter.
Yep.
The harder ones are when they're there, they're working hard, they're committed, but the result's not happening. There may be some question about the competence, right? And so I think that you have to ask yourself, is this a competent person? I do think that I care a lot more about their personality and their innate traits than I do their experience.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that experience can be overrated, and it can be really overrated in a startup because what you're doing, what we're doing is very different. A lot of stuff we're doing is very unique.
Yeah.
And you can get some experienced guy and he's going to want some big salary and he's going to want like 4 people underneath him to do stuff. Like, you need, early on in a startup, you need a lot of doers. You need people who are willing to roll their sleeves up and just go figure it out. And so I do tend to like people who they have a lot of drive. They are smart. They just can learn and pick things up quickly. And then I think, people who are humble and just willing to learn and own up to mistakes and try to correct. So it's a hard question, but I think you do have to look at it and say, hey, have I set them up for success? You have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. I think it's important as a manager, before you fire somebody, you recognize it's your fault no matter what.
Yeah.
You either hired the wrong person.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Or you didn't train them or set them up for success. Either way, it's your fault. So you need to act like it's your fault. You need to say, hey, did I set them up for success? Did I give them all the training? Was I very clear about my expectations? Was I very clear about the results? And if you're still not getting it, okay, yeah, maybe it's time for that person to move on from the organization. First of all, maybe you ask, hey, is there a better seat on our bus where they should be? Could they be succeeding somewhere else in our organization? But you have to, I think, have that attitude to be a good leader. You have to feel like some ownership for their success, and either say to yourself, yeah, I think I just made a bad call here, like they're not the right person, or no, I need to train more, I need to do more for that individual to succeed here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in extreme ownership.
Yeah,
if you're a leader,
love that book.
No matter what, any outcome of an employee not performing, a customer canceling, a bad review, like, if you are an actual leader, you own that. And there is a fine line between, like, I don't know where it is unhealthy, because people also need to have extreme ownership of, like, if I'm an employee, I'm going to dominate my job. If everyone has that mentality, but you can't control what other people think. As a leader, you can control yourself exclusively. I also feel like for people who start businesses who are agreeable. So I think I'm an agreeable person. Like, I don't like conflict. I feel like it was hard for me to, like, setting clear expectations is a disagreeable trait.
Yeah.
Because it lays down a judgment of, if you don't do this, this bad thing will happen. When an agreeable person wants to be like, hey man, just like do your best. And I think people who start businesses, you have to be disagreeable. You have to.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that in you, you got to work on that.
Yeah, Patrick Lencioni, I really like his books. He has one called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah.
And great book. And
Yeah.
he tells his principles like a fable. Like, he'll just kind of tell you a story and then kind of tell you at the end what he's trying to tell you. And the first important function a team needs to have is trust. You have to have vulnerability trust, which means you're willing to say, hey, I'm not quite sure how to do that thing. Can you help me? You're willing to say, man, listen, I'm sorry, I crossed the line. That's my bad, and say sorry to each other. It's not just like trust, I know you're going to do this thing. It's trust that, like, you're willing to be open and share with one another. But the second one is fear of conflict. Bad teams are afraid of conflict.
Yeah.
They just constantly are worried about offending other people, or they don't share. And you will know if your team is not good at this if there's a meeting after the meeting, right? So we all are in a meeting. Any other thoughts? Anyone else? No. Second meeting ends.
Oh,
two people,
man.
That is the dumbest thing ever, right? And that will absolutely kill your culture as a company, but also your ability to perform, right?
Yeah.
When you and that's taken time to develop, but I think the more you trust those individuals you're working with, the more you can be candid and disagreeable at times, right?
And it's not a bad thing. Like, in a marriage, in any relationship, you have to speak the truth.
Yeah, 100%.
And you have to speak it clearly and set the expectations clearly. And maybe people view that as like rough or rugged. Like, if anything, it allows you to not go into strange places or just be totally misaligned. So
the goal of a leader is you want to find the truth, right?
Yeah.
So you want to get everyone's perspective and everyone's opinion. And then at the end, you go, okay, this is the direction we're going to go. And great teams, it was, I'm blanking on the name. Microchip. Intel. Their company model for a long time was disagree and commit.
Yes, that's a great idea.
And that whole idea is you come together in a room, you all disagree about what the best is, the leader decides the direction, and then you all commit to following that, right? And now, if it fails, it's the leader's fault too, right? Like, that's that extreme ownership. Like, you learn from that and you make a change and you pivot and go in a different direction. But it's really important to learn, especially for a leadership team, especially for that executive team, how to disagree with one another.
Yeah.
And still be able to get along and still be able to leave the room and disagree and commit. That's a really, really important principle.
And I love what you said too about it's an exercise to find the truth. I think organizations, human beings, communities, families, relationships rot when they aren't actively trying to genuinely find the truth. Doesn't mean you're not going to do it perfectly, or like, you're definitely going to struggle, but in business, it's kind of the same thing of what do people actually think, what is actually happening, like not in a way that I'm trying to raise my importance in an organization, but rather genuinely trying to solve the end user, the end customer's experience. Like, I always try to orient all of our decisions around, well, how does this help? I like to affectionately say, guys with funny haircuts who knock doors, right? Like, how does this help them?
Yeah.
And I've seen companies where I see in leadership, people make moves and decisions that are just there to benefit them and their long-standing career. And if you have enough of that, it just rots. The whole thing rots.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be hyper-focused on the truth, disagree with one another, commit. I totally agree.
And I think as the leader, you set that example.
Yeah.
So I'm a passionate person. I've definitely had instances where I've crossed the line, right? Where I was too emotional about something. And it's to me to say, hey, listen, I crossed the line there. I'm sorry, right? I was a little too over-engaged there. I think as a leader, you need to do a good job of saying, hey, you've been kind of quiet. What's your thought on this? Like, make sure you're getting everybody's feedback in the room before you make decisions. Try not to own the whole conversation. It's easy for leaders. I like to hear myself talk. It's easy to get in and just like run everything. But you need to let people lead. You need to hear their perspective, and you'll make a better decision as a leader that way. Those people have a different perspective. They're actually working with the customer day in, day out, working with the patient in our case. And they have a great perspective that's going to help you make a better decision. And you need to make sure you provide room for those people to give that perspective, to feel like it's a safe space to provide that perspective. And so that's why that first layer is trust. You have to build trust with people. And that comes in repeated interactions time and time and time again, right? It takes time to build trust. That's why one-on-ones weekly are important. Check-ins daily, depending on your situation, are really important. You have to lay that groundwork first before they're going to feel safe to share in a meeting and maybe tell you an ugly truth, right? And something that maybe is hard to share with a founder, but is necessary for the business to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, man, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror. Like everything you're saying, I just 100% agree with. I have a tongue-in-cheek invitation to anyone at Enzy of I have an open burrito policy instead of an open door. Like I'll buy you a Chipotle burrito and we can talk about anything. And I'll pay for it, and like it's a good
like
safe
that.
space.
I might steal that.
Yeah. Hey, open burrito for you.
Yeah,
if you want to come eat burrito. I just totally agree. So as we've kind of like walked through the progression of starting Jet Dental, hitting this high of $6 million in revenue, I liked your Rudy Gobert comment, and the world blew up.
Yeah,
going to zero, being very like stoic in terms of, I can control what I can control, and I'm going to do what I do, and whatever happens may happen. And then that actually paid off. Now we're into this kind of leadership discussion. I want to like pivot here for a second, and kind of the last couple of questions around family.
Yeah,
because I think it's really hard for people starting companies to balance their lives. I mean, I feel it personally. Having a great supporting partner is like such a critical element. You have 3 kids. I have 4 kids. You probably don't sleep well. I don't sleep well.
And then I added a dog on it. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Stupid.
I mean, but your dog sounds like it's low maintenance. So it
yeah, it's
okay.
pretty good.
Yeah.
She's a good dog.
Yeah.
In case she's listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to talk about balance, and I want to talk about how you center yourself with your ambitions, but your desire to, raise your family. I don't know if you have any thoughts. We can start there.
Yeah. Well, I think balance is hard, right? I think realistically, there's just times you're out of balance one way or the other. And so for me, I've done a lot better the last probably 3-4 years, especially.
Yeah.
I don't have Instagram on my phone. I don't have it at all, actually.
Yeah, dude, that's such a, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've turned off most of my notifications. So I don't get ESPN notifications. I don't get a lot of notifications. I get just kind of like the critical ones, email, text. And I try really hard now. I didn't in the early days because, again, I couldn't afford that. I had to work long hours. But now, weekend, I don't work. Rarely. I rarely engage on the weekend. And sometimes that's hard, but most of the time I disconnect and I give a lot of time, really all the time, to my family, to church on Sunday too. I really try to disconnect. And so I think it's important I think one of the beauties of before you had a cell phone was like you left work at work and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really get a hold of me now. And when you went on vacation back then, you can't really get a hold of me now. So I do try to do that. Like when I'm on a work trip, I work till freaking midnight. I'm doing my work stuff and I work because when I get home, I want to be able to be home. And so, I do feel like I've developed that better. Like when I get to work, similarly, my wife knows I'm not going to be like super chatty with you during work. Like I'm not one of those people who can like just be texting my wife all day. I like when she sends me funny memes and stuff. Like I enjoy it, but I'm not going to be overly engaged because the way my brain works, I pull a box out and I stay in that box until I'm done with the box and then I put it away. Right. And so like I pull out my work box and I'm in the work box and then I go home and I go to the home box. So I think other advice I've heard that I think is really sound is getting with your family and saying, hey, what's the thing I just cannot miss?
Yeah.
Like my daughter has a dance competition. I cannot miss that. Like that thing is really important to me in scheduling it. And I think it's good to schedule time for yourself. I think it's good to schedule time, so you don't go crazy. Like, what things are important to me. For me personally, like my hobby that I love is golf. And so I try to find time once a week to go golf. Like that's really important to me. I didn't in the early days. Now as I've gotten a little bit more comfortable work-wise, I'm able to do that. But I do think regarding family specifically, you have to make time for them.
Yeah.
If you say it's your most important thing, actually make it your most important thing. Actually, if you have to, schedule it, right? There was a time where I had scheduled on every day at 8 a.m. to give my wife a compliment or a thank you.
Oh,
just because I felt like I got in this period where I wasn't ever doing it.
Yeah.
So I was so focused on me and work and what I was doing. And so I put a little reminder on there, like tell Brittany thanks for something or give her a compliment.
Yeah.
And that might sound bad of me that I had to schedule that.
No.
But it just reminded me like to check in and make sure you're doing what's most important. So I think that's my biggest advice is just be wherever you are.
Yeah.
Like if you're in church, be in church.
100%.
I could have improved that one, by the way.
Yeah.
But when
me
you're
too.
with your family, be with your family. And I try a lot harder not to be on Instagram, not to be, again, I don't have it anymore because it allows me to just really be focused.
Yeah.
The other morning I took my dog for a walk for an hour and I didn't listen to anything.
Oh,
Ever done
wow.
this?
Yeah.
Just, like you're not even listening to anything. It's kind of uncomfortable for us as humans because we don't know how to be bored anymore. You know, it's kind of crazy actually. And so I did that. I said, okay, I read this book called The Comfort Crisis and he talks about that. Anyway, walked my dog for an hour just thinking. And it's actually kind of awesome. Like it's a little uncomfortable at first, to be honest with you, but then you kind of settle in and you start to have important thoughts and important conversations with yourselves, with yourselves. Now I sound
like Gollum from the Lord of the Rings.
That's really crazy. But I think it's just really important that wherever you are, be there. When you're at work, be at work. Like be engaged in work. Be in that meeting.
Be locked in.
Don't be, and then when you're at home, be at home. And I'm not here to say I'm perfect at it, but I've gotten better. And I've tried to like limit the distraction that comes from my phone in that process.
So this is gold for anyone listening. This is true gold of what you're saying. And the first thing I want to touch on is the whole Instagram piece. Let's call it social media.
Yeah.
Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it may be. They are designed with the help of like psychologists mixed with extreme software engineers to addict you to something.
Yeah.
It's no different than nicotine or something that's just constantly stuck in your head and it pulls at you.
Yeah.
It's trying to reach out to you to pull you in with notifications. Like imagine if I told you that there was a tax on your life that you had to pay of time of like hunched over. I think people would be like, no, I don't want to do that. That's my life. But how much of social media is actually useful? It's so small.
Yes.
It's so small. And so like this really resonates with me. There's a great book called Digital Minimalism and talks about this of like find ways to use this tool that is great. These phones are fantastic, but use it in an appropriate way to accomplish your goals. Set your goals, articulate them, and if it's not serving you towards that because it's distracting you, eliminate.
Yep.
So I totally agree. And then maybe let me ask you this. You have 3 kids.
Yep.
This will be my last question for you. I hope a lot of people watch this podcast because it's been fantastic. Like I feel like I've learned a lot. Let's say nobody does, but your kids do. And you have a time capsule and they're going to watch it in 10 years when their brains are fully developed. And like, oh, what did my dad say 10 years ago? What advice would you give to them with life, business, believing in yourself? I don't know, kind of the stuff we talked about.
One of the first things that comes to mind, I actually used to have a podcast. I interviewed Chad Lewis. He has 8 kids. Chad has played for the Eagles and Pro Bowl tight end and very successful. And one of the first thing he said was just like, just chill out. It's going to be fine. Like, just relax. It's going to be fine. And I think one of the things I would tell my kids is it's going to be fine. Like, everything's going to be okay. Don't overly stress about things. Work hard. Trust in yourself. Put in the work. And if you put in the work, then trust that it's going to work out, right? I would just want my kids to know that there's so many people who love them. And they have a Father in heaven who loves them, and they're never alone. Like, gosh, it's making me emotional.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
You want your kids to know that, gosh, they're loved. And I think as a parent, there's nothing like watching your kid succeed in something. And I just know that any one of my kids, and I'm sure your kids, they probably can be just about anything they want to be in life.
Yeah.
realistically. And they have to have people around them who believe in them. And man, if my kids are listening, I want them to know I believe in them. Like, I know they can be whatever they want to be. And not to be afraid of failure, and just know that everything's going to work out. Like, you've got people who love you and who want to support you. And if the last thing I'll say for kids, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And you'll avoid a lot of issues in life if you just are at school when you're supposed to be at school. If you go to wherever place you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, when you show up for work when you're supposed to show up for work, you'll probably avoid a lot of bad things that kids fall into. Just show up and be there and be engaged when you're supposed to be there. But yeah, that's what I want my kids to know. It's just, man, I love them so much, and they're gonna be fine. It's gonna be good. Like, you know, that, like, you learn in time. You don't need to know everything right out the gate. Like, it's I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
It's a book called The Gap and the Gain that I love, and talks about how some of the most successful people in life, they always set the goalposts further, and it's like the horizon. They never get there, right? And so I definitely fell into this at Jet Dental early on. Like, we're never there. I still do. Like,
Yeah, I feel that.
if I look back and I realize, like, man, we're above 12 million in revenue, and we've got all these customers, and we're nationwide. If I'd have known that 7 years ago, I would have been ecstatic.
Yeah.
But then I still get so frustrated because, but we're not here. And I'm always living in the gap instead of looking backward at the gain.
Wow.
And I think it's really important. I need to be better at it with my kids. Show them all their wins all the time. Like, show them the gain. Help them live in the gain and not live in the gap. Because when you're a kid and you don't know anything, you always feel like you're in the gap, right? You always feel like, oh, I'm not 16, I can't drive. Oh, I'm not 21, I can't. For some people, that's drink or whatever, right? Like, help them live in the gain. Help them see all the wins they're having all the time. And I think that's really important.
Oh, I mean, that hits home for me. And for anyone listening, I think this idea of believe in yourself, don't be afraid, be grateful for the distance that you've come so far while still having the eye of how to be better. That balance is the definition of being a human being. But Jordan, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. This was an absolute delight.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay.